Salutations, friends and strangers of the interwebs. Welcome. I am Said Stevie. Before I get going into this video, I want to ask you guys. Uh, I try so hard every time I'm starting a video when I get everything all set up to make sure that my backdrop here is centered. Like, I try to make sure there's equal width along the top, along the bottom, along the side. I'm using guidelines to try to, or I'm pointing at my screen like you guys can see this. I'm looking into my laptop monitor. Um, it's hard for me to just do a top down and not be able to also see what you guys are saying. So, but I can never get it right, and that bugs me. Does that bug you guys? I notice it in other people's videos too, and it's not a critique on them, but it's just something I notice and it messes with me. What do you guys think? I don't know. Does it bother you? Or am I doing an okay job? Am I just getting a little too anal about it? Because like that looks like it should be, but then it looks like it's not even across the top. It's definitely not even. And maybe my leather mat here from Lancelot Leather is a little warped. I don't know. Anywho, it's late. It's 9:30 on Wednesday. Like, it's not terribly late, but I had an idea for this video, and so I'm just going to jump into it. I didn't put a ton of thought into it, but so yesterday I did the unboxing. Posted today, I think, of the Kubey Momentum, designed by Sharif Manganas. Butchered his name in that video for sure. But this is the KU344 Momentum. Fabulous knife. I adjusted the pivot just a nanoskosh. Skeeters are out, but not landed on me. Said Stevie beard oil, working good. Um, uh, Adjusted the pivot just loosened it, backed it off a little bit. Didn't affect the centering or the blade play at all, and now the action on this knife is fall shut, which I like. I have already used it. I cut a bunch of cardboard today, and it doesn't even really show like I did. I guess I did wipe it down. Actually wiped it down with my brand new forest tank. This is the dope one. This is the glow in the dark. It's awesome. Excuse me. Um, Wetting my whistle with some coffee this late at night. I know, right? Anywho, I digress. This knife is phenomenal, and it's got the thumb studs that you can. Detent's dialed perfect. I can middle finger flick it, and it's got a phenomenal front flipper on it. I'm like, man. After spending a full day with this, I said, you know, it's really reminding me of one of my favorite knives that I've gotten so far in 2022. The Fenrir Concept collaboration from Sparrow Knives. Sorry. Front flipper, perfect detent on this. Front flipper, middle finger flick, no problem. Front flip, no problem. Phenomenal knife. And it made me realize a knife that I've never shown off, that I've had for quite a while, and it was my first style of knife like this. The Real Steel Rokot. I don't know why I'm rolling my R's. This is a knife, and I had to check to make sure I was right. I've had it for a while. I got this in November of 2020. So I've had it a year and a half or so. Going as far back as using Slicey Dicey's 10% code on there. It's still the same price. This is a $77 knife. This one isn't available. They have like an Imperial version, white G10 black blade. It is available on, I think I saw it available on Amazon when I was looking it up. But yeah, this was my first front flipper that I got. Not true. I got the Civivi X-Arch. And I could not get the front flipper down, and I I quickly sold that, and I was kind of done with front flippers. But then I did see Slicey Dicey's video on this, and I was like, wow, this is a really interesting knife. Mainly because of the maker, the designer, Ivan Braganitz. I think he is, I forget what nationality he is, but he the scales, the G10. This is, I believe, his name in Morse code. Not Morse code. Yeah, maybe it's Morse code. I don't know. But this was a knife that I thought was interesting enough to pick up. And even though it was a front flipper, I knew it had thumb studs, and that's what I was more interested in. But then I was able to start getting the front flip down. And then I started gravitating towards front flippers. And it was this knife here, the Fenrir, that I realized, wow, I really like a front flipper thumb stud. More, I think so, than like a back flipper or a hole. You know, I like being able to middle finger flick a knife, but I also like multiple deployments. And I'm not going to go drag out all my knives and do a big comparison with opening mechanisms. Plenty of great examples of all those knives. I'm really just going to focus on, I think, why I like this method the most. And then I'm going to try to figure out, of these three, which one I like out of these three the best. Really what all these have in common also is that they are all liner locks. I guess technically maybe this is a bolster lock. I'm going to consider it a liner lock. So that also makes these all very left-handed friendly as well. Yeah, these are all very left-handed friendly. I don't try to front flip left-handed just because it's a little awkward for me, but it's not hard to do with the Fenrir at all. And it's really not that hard with the Momentum either. But, yeah, so multiple deployment options, right? And ergos, I think, are the reason why I like having a front flipper as opposed to a back flipper. I'm not saying I don't like back flippers by any means. I'm not saying I don't like slots by any means. I'm just saying I think that this specific design is my favorite. Does that mean that these are my favorite knives? No. I could go into all sorts of stuff here. I really just want to focus on, trying to focus my thought. Again, this was an idea I had and didn't think it out. But just was like, oh, grab the knives and go. But where was I? Ergos. So, with a back flipper, most of the time, not all the time, this little knife will put my what I'm about to say discredit that. But a lot of times, a back flipper, Vero does their back flippers really good, and so does, again, there's plenty of knives that do something similar. EMP EDC, the gripper, they hide the back flipper really well, so even though it doesn't have a choil, you can still choke up on that flat. That's what I like about these knives. Sometimes the back flipper will kind of get in the way even if there is a choil, and kind of split your fingers. So even if there's a choil to choke up on, split your fingers a little bit, and it is not as comfortable as, in my opinion, when you're choking up on a knife to have a flat spot. Even if you have a nice choil, a flat spot. Case in point, the Fenrir that has a good choil to choke up on. You don't have a flipper tab in the back splitting your fingers there. You get a really good purchase on it. Now, in the case with the Rokot, there is no choil, but no flipper tab in the way, so you have that flat spot there, so I can be back here, or I can ride up and I can choke up. So, as far as ergos go, I think that's where a front flipper, I gravitate towards a front flipper just for that reason. Now, again, a good example of a front flipper, Vero, just for comparison purposes, You don't have that. You can absolutely ride up on here, even though it's got a back flipper. But now it comes to thumb studs. I like being able to middle finger flick a knife. So that's where slots come in. And I was definitely who says it? Who has the shirt or the stickers holes over studs? Who is that? Shit. Bearded Gear. Bearded Gear has a holes over studs. And I think for a long time, I was kind of, not that he's wrong, or I don't agree with that, but I think I was kind of in that mentality because I like to flick a knife so much. But I also like, I think, realistically, when I'm not just fidgeting with a knife, my favorite way to deploy a knife is with a thumb stud. I think it's the most, pulling out a pocket and just boom with the thumb, as opposed to having to, with a back flipper, you kind of have to readjust your grip almost, whereas a thumb stud just seems more natural. But so with a lot of slotted knives, let me grab one at least so I can do some sort of a comparison here. Okay, I just so happen to have the Archbishop 3.0 closest to me. And this is actually a good example of what I was talking about in my other, what I was just talking about. Great back flipper, great back flipper, great forward finger choil. But when I choke up, now it splits my fingers. It's not a big deal. This is still a comfortable knife. It's not a big deal, but I feel the flipper tap. So something like these that doesn't have that and I can still choke up, I kind of give the nod to, even though this knife is still extremely comfortable. But now this knife is a dream to middle finger flick all day. And one of my absolute favorite knives, and not one of, my favorite designer, Ferrum Forge. But I can't thumb flick it. I can slow roll it, and maybe you guys can. Maybe it's my stupid, ape thumbs, to where I struggle with trying to thumb flick it. I really can't. So a lot of good knives are designed with a really good slot for middle finger flicking, but I can't really thumb flick it. So when it comes to methods of deployment, which really is, I think, a fancy way of me saying fidgetability. That's why I think I like studs over holes. Now, all that goes out the window if I do, and I would have to find an example of a knife now, going back into my collection, that is a good example of a front flipper that also has a good hole that I can fire out. I'm sure I probably have one. I don't know. Front flipper, hole only. Geez. Actually, hold on. I was going to grab my gripper, my Brass Brigade Grant gripper, but I realized that that's currently being modded. I have that down. Johnny J. Cape, a.k.a. Knife Nerd Reviews, has that. Doing some mods on it right now, but because I think I can thumb flick that pretty good, and that's a front flipper. The knife that actually dispels some of that, the Nimble. Good front flipper, good middle finger flick, and I can actually fire it out with my thumb. So not as reliable, but this is, I think, the Nimble. Surprise, surprise, my 2021 Knife of the Year is definitely a better example of a slot front flipper that I can thumb flick and middle finger flick and front flip really well. But it's not as great with the thumb at all. Thumb stud, surprise, surprise, is even better. It's reliable for me 100% of the time. So, even though this is a good example of a flipper with what I was just talking about, that I can flick, front flipper that I can thumb flick and middle finger flick. I still think that a thumb stud that I can fire out with my thumb and middle finger flick, no problem, and front flip, no problem, is my preferred way. So, these are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Well, not so you got 47, 160, 75, 77-ish. What was it? Um, uh, Decent materials across them. Where I'm going with this is I searched Blade HQ right before I started doing this, and I couldn't find a high-end example of a front flipper thumb stud deployment knife. So, do you guys have any suggestions on something that's maybe in the higher end, or even actually any end? I've never tried this opening or this style of knife in a frame lock. Well, not true. Nimble's a frame lock. Skeeters. Landed on me but flew away, didn't bite. That citronella. I'm telling you, it's that citronella keeping them at bay. I would like to try a frame lock version of this method of deployment. A good front flipper with good thumb studs. Or again, any other, it doesn't matter if it's a liner lock. A button lock would be sick. Is there a front flipper thumb stud button lock? Ooh boy, that would really put things over the top, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would. Yeah, it really would. I don't know if one of those exists or not, but anyway, that's what I'm posing to you guys as a question. What can you suggest that's out there? Now, before this video gets too entirely long, I'm going to, so of these three, which is my favorite? Well, action-wise, if we're going to judge on materials, this one, the Fenrir, wins 100%. Titanium, S35EN, yeah, it's G10, but I guess the other three are G10 anyway. So, materials-wise, the higher-end knife, actually, now I'm bumping my camera and fucking everything up. Oh, for crying out loud, Stevie. On materials alone, that wins. Okay, so I'm not going to judge on materials. Action-wise, or access to the liner lock is good to go on all these. The close is good, or the drop. I would actually say that probably the Rokot has the best fall shut action, although the Momentum is very close. This is great. In terms of the drop shutness, if I'm judging, goes to this. What I'm not factoring in here is what blade performance is going to be. I'm not judging these on the tool capabilities, right? These are all good slicers. N690, S30, or D2, S35EN. I'm not going to do a blade steel comparison. I've sharpened this plenty. I got no problems with it. I can sharpen S35EN just fine. I can sharpen D2 just fine. Make your case for what is better. That I don't care about that. They all slice. They're all good slicers. I'm not going to start judging on, thinness behind the edge. They're all flat grinds. Blade-wise, these all cut just fine. Material-wise, they're all good. Ergos, these are all good. So I'm really just judging, I guess, on the fidgetability, right? Something that some of you go, it doesn't, save it. This is my video. I can judge however I want. All right, so the action, the drop shuttiness goes to this, then the Momentum, and then this one. All on bearings. All on bearings, by the way. So, handle material, again, they're all good to go. Now, I guess let's start talking about the actual deployment. The thumb studs are pretty much all the same. Little bit more jimping on the Rokot as opposed to the Momentum and the Fenrir. But I don't have any problems with the thumb slipping off on any of these. Middle finger flick, thumb flick, just fine. Yep. And I already know the concept. Fenrir, Sparrow knives, same. Thumb studs are all good. I think I like the placement, however, of the thumb studs better on the Momentum and the concept over the Rokot. Now it comes down to what? Oh, front flipper. Right. It comes down to the front flipper. So, good to go. But for some reason, God, see, that wasn't on purpose. I still struggle sometimes with. It doesn't seem to want to always fire out. I still misfire with the Rokot. I feel like I have to give it a little weird wristy there. So there's that. Front flipper on the Fenrir or the Momentum, money. Front flipper on the Fenrir, money. Third place, based on that. So now, which of these two are better? Whew, boy. I don't know. I don't think I've had this one long enough to say that it's better. And again, better, I don't know. They're all good knives. I'm not going to say one is necessarily better than the other. Which one am I going to... I have to pick a winner here. I got to pick a winner. Well, what else is there to judge on? So, I guess based right now on materials, this one wins. The Fenrir wins just because it's better materials, S35 and D2. S35, I think, is better than D2. Fine with D2, but S35 is better. This has titanium in it. Both, carry just fine. Makers, OEMs, Concept versus Kubey. I got more Kubey than I do Concept. I got nothing against Greg Shobe. I'm sure he's a great dude. Don't know him at all. I don't know Sharif Mangana's really well, but he was just on the live stream and was a hella cool dude. So, there's that. I think, though, look, I would love for the Momentum to come out swinging with that momentum and say this is the best one. And it's great. But I think that the front flipper is done just a little... I don't know why. Maybe it has something to do with the jimping. A little bit finer versus a little bit thicker. But I feel like the front flipper on the Fenrir is slightly better. Slightly better. So, I'm going to have to pick a winner. Hey, Sharif, you came out swinging, brother. Phenomenal design. Phenomenal design. Nothing to be ashamed about. Not that you need my validation by any means. But I'm going to have to give it to the Fenrir from Sparrow Knives as so far my favorite of the three. That's it. So, what do you guys think? What did I get wrong? What did I get right? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your recommendations for another knife that is a front flipper thumb stud? Love to see those suggestions. And kudos if it's a frame lock, because I'd love to, again, close, but it's not a thumb stud. And like I said, it's not as front flips like a dream, though. Nope. I gotta say, the front flipper, this is not a bad front flipper, but the front flipper on these are done better. So, yeah, what do you guys recommend? Love to hear your suggestions. Or what's your favorite method? Some people, I understand, because of dexterity issues, can't do a good front flip. For whatever reason, some people just can't do a front flip. And I think maybe I'm getting this wrong. Mimo, if you watch, I'm pretty sure you hate front flippers. Was that you that I had that conversation with before? Um, uh, and I get it. I'm not saying it's the best thing, and it's not going to be for everyone. Some people need that for just dexterity reasons or whatever. They want a back flipper. Totally get that. If that's your reasoning, um, totally get that. But yeah, what is it? Do you like seems like there's a lot of people that do flipper deletes. Everyone says, Ferrum Forge is great, but stop it with the flipper. Just do a slot only. And there's a lot of knives that are slot only knives. Do you like the middle finger flick? Do you like the Spidey flick? I guess Spyderco is a good example of a knife that you can fire out with your thumb and middle finger flick. Is the smock also a front flipper? I don't remember if the smock's a front flipper or not. I'm not going to go get it because this video is plenty long. So maybe that's a knife I'll go get after this and be like, oh shit, I guess that's even better. I haven't messed with the smock in a while. I kind of always forget about my smock, but that's it. This was an extremely long video. That's what happens when you don't plan and you just get going. And yeah, it's almost already 10 o'clock at night. That's it, folks. That's all I got for now. So, again, what are your recommendations? What are your favorite methods to deploy a knife? Appreciate you guys if you hung in here this far. I truly do appreciate it. If you could do me a favor, please subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps. Turn on notifications. I guess that helps as well. I'm trying to learn this whole algorithm thing. I don't. Ugh. You don't care about that. If you haven't subscribed, please do so right here. I don't know what that video will be. Like and watch that video, or not. Don't do any of that. I appreciate you, mofos, and I'll talk to you soon. Deuces.